আসসালামু আলাইকুম। চলে এসেছি আপনাদের জন্য আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচার রিচার্ডকে নিয়ে। Say hello.
Hi everyone.
ওকে। সো আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচারের সাথে আমি নিয়মিত লাইভে এসে থাকি শুধুমাত্র আপনাদের জন্য, যাতে করে আপনারা আপনাদের IELTS স্পিকিং প্র্যাকটিস করতে পারেন। আমাদের এখানে আমরা বিভিন্ন ধরনের IELTS কোর্স করিয়ে থাকি। আমাদের এখানে ব্রিটিশ টিচারদের সাথে স্পিকিং প্র্যাকটিস করার সুযোগ আছে, যা আপনারা হয়তো অন্য কোথাও আর পাবেন না। সো আপনারা যদি চান আপনারা আমাদের কোর্সে ভর্তি হতে পারেন আমাদের অফিসে এসে, অথবা আমাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করার মাধ্যমে, সেটা হোক ফোন করে অথবা আমাদের পেজে ইনবক্স করার মাধ্যমে, অথবা আমাদের অফিসে সরাসরি এসে আমাদেরকে ইমেলও করতে পারেন যদি আপনি চান। আর আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচার আমাদের সাথে প্রতিনিয়ত লাইভে আসে। আপনারা যদি আমাদের কোর্সে অ্যাডমিশন নেন তাহলে আমরা আপনাদেরকে সরাসরি 1-to-1 স্পিকিং প্র্যাকটিস করার সুযোগও করে দিব। তাহলে আজকে আমরা আমাদের লাইভ সেশন শুরু করি। আপনারা যদি কেউ আমাদের লাইভে জয়েন করতে চান তাহলে আমি কমেন্টসে একটি লিংক দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। আপনারা ওই লিংকটা আপনাদের ব্রাউজারে যদি এন্টার করেন তাহলে আপনাদেরকে সরাসরি আমাদের লাইভে নিয়ে আসবে, এবং আমি আপনাদের একটি রিকোয়েস্ট পাবো। আপনাদের রিকোয়েস্ট আমি অ্যাকসেপ্ট করলে আপনারা সরাসরি আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচারের সাথে ইংরেজি ভাষায় স্পিকিং প্র্যাকটিস করতে পারবেন। তাহলে শুরু করে দিই। হাই রিচার্ড, হাউ আর ইউ?
Hi, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm fine. Again, it's a very sunny day here, like yesterday.
It's not so sunny here. It's overcast and
Okay.
windy, and a bit. It's warmer than it was yesterday, but
Okay.
there's no sun today. It's a lot of
Sounds
cloud
so
cover.
soothing to me.
It looks very grey and miserable,
Okay. So
but
yesterday,
it's still a great day. Go on. Yesterday.
the last topic we talked about was your favorite car, and
Yes, I
right?
remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I said I had two favorite cars. I had the Bentley Continental GT and the Wrangler Jeep
yeah. And I
for
was like
various different
asking
wings.
many questions to you about this brand, that brand, and that. Okay.
Absolutely.
So today we can talk about many other topics as well. So I
Okay.
have selected some topics for you. You can
Okay.
talk about first day at work, the
Okay.
first day you entered into the professional life. What was
Oh,
the experience of it?
my first day in my first ever job, or my first day in my
Yes,
current job. Oh, my first ever job. Wow, that's
yes.
taking me back a long
Nostalgic, right?
time. Yeah. Wow. I can't even remember where I started. Oh, yes. So after university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And because I'd been helping my cousins in their retail shop, I decided, oh, retail sounds interesting. I must have a go and see what it's like, because I used to do it when I was 14, 15, and 16. I used to work on a Saturday, stacking shelves, speaking to the customer, and working the till. So I thought, oh, I know this, I'll go into it. So after my
Okay.
degree, I went on to the graduate training program with Marks and Spencers, which is a big retailer worldwide. And I went in as a commercial manager trainee. And the first day, I remember walking in, and everybody starts looking at you and wanting to know who you are. And you feel that sort of all eyes on me feel when you're walking through the store. And
Yeah.
you start feeling a little bit anxious because you don't know what to expect. You don't know who you're going to meet, and if you're going to enjoy it, if they're going to like you. So all these are going through your head. When you're very young, you're a bit
Were
nervous.
you nervous?
I was a little bit nervous. I was just as excited as I was nervous, because
Okay.
it was a great opportunity. And to get the job, you had to do a 2-day assessment center. So you had to
Oh,
go away and stay overnight and interact with senior people and other people who were judging you and scoring you. And then you had to go through a number of tests that they marked you on. And then at the end, they'd see what score you had, what they thought about how you portrayed yourself. And then they would decide whether or not they would give you an opportunity to join the company. So I go in my first day, and I'm there, and I sit in the canteen, the cafeteria upstairs where all the staff go, and I'm waiting for the store manager to come and speak to me and introduce himself. So after about 20 minutes, I'm there, twiddling my thumbs, looking around, smiling at everybody, saying hello, good morning, getting hotter because now it's taking a while. And then the manager came out and took me into his office, and his office was massive. I mean, it was like it's proper luxury type of, the managers at Marks and Spencer's were very highly regarded in terms of what they did. So I sat down with this gentleman called Nigel Ree, and he was very young for a store manager of that caliber. And I sat
Okay.
there talking to him, and he was saying, right, so let's have a look what you did on your assessment center. So now this is the first time that I get to know how I performed before I got the job, but I've got the job. So very, very different way, and very scary and interesting, because now I know where I need to work on and what I don't need to work on. Yeah. So he went through it.
Okay.
He said, out of the 2 days, this was your score. This is very good. This is excellent. And I said, oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. And when I applied for the role, there was 27,000 applications for 50 jobs.
Okay. And you got the chance.
So I got one of those jobs. Yeah. So I
That's
was
a big
very,
achievement.
it was a massive achievement. In fact, I photocopied the article in the paper that said
Wow.
27,000 for 50 jobs, and framed it and stuck it on the wall because I was one of those 50.
It's a huge achievement. Like, you must be that much qualified. That's why they hired you among so
Well,
many people.
yeah, I think it's, well, no, because I was just me. You can't, when you go into work for anybody or anyone else, you can't be somebody you're not. So
Yeah.
when you go to work, your personality is who you are, but you can't change your personality. You can only change your behavior. So
Yes.
it depends on how your behavior is in what they're looking for. But your personality should come through in everything you do, because that's what makes you you, and that's what other people see. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I was just me. And so, for example, I'll give you an example. So at the end of the first night, the first day on the assessment center, we had to have dinner with everybody and talk to all the senior managers, middle managers, and they were still assessing us after the day, which a lot of people forgot. So everybody still stayed in their suits. So I went upstairs and changed into a shirt and some jeans because I'd finished the day and it's time for dinner. And I was the only one in the whole of the candidates on my assessment center that did that. So that was me, because that's my personality, wanting to relax at the end of the day. So I did. And lucky for me, it helped me get the job. So yeah,
That's
so
really
I was
nice.
so it was very daunting. And then when I started to work, or when I was told what I was doing, then it really started to happen. But the problem I had was that the way that they worked was very old and traditional. So you couldn't speak to so I couldn't speak to one of my members of staff and call them by their first name. I had to call them Mrs. Smith or Mr. Jones, whatever it was. I couldn't say, Johnny, how you doing? Come over here, let's have a chat. Wasn't allowed to do that. Wasn't allowed to walk across the floor at a leisurely pace. I had to walk at a certain speed. Wasn't allowed to wear things that they didn't think matched. You know, one of my colleagues who was with me, they sent him home because he was wearing the wrong coloured shoes with the different coloured suit. So they sent him home. So things like that didn't bode well with my makeup or my personality. So I remember leaving. So I finished my training and then left and joined the Arcadia group, Top Shop and Top Man. Do you know this
Okay,
company?
that's nice.
Do you know
Top
Top Shop?
shop?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, I know.
So I went to work for them, and I loved it there. It was fantastic. It was very fast
Okay,
paced. It was amazing. I stayed with them for four, 5 years with them. It
nice.
was amazing. And then eventually, when I decided to move abroad, I decided that I'd like to get into teaching. So I then applied to the international school and said, "This is what I've been doing in my spare time, and this is what I do, and etc." And they said, "Oh, come down and we'll have a look and see how you are." So, and that was nerve wracking as well because
It
totally
was
different.
very enjoyable time for you, I guess.
I loved it. I loved working in the international school. I thoroughly found it fascinating, and helping students and learners is one of the best things ever. As if one person comes up to you at the end of the day and say thank you for that lesson, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's a great feeling for sure.
Absolutely.
I
What
used
about
to
you?
teach a child, like
Ah, okay. What did you teach them?
like all of her subjects. She was in kindergarten, so
Ah, okay.
like she was a baby, but it was fun teaching her. Like I will remember her the till my last day, till my last day of my life, I will remember her.
Excellent. Yeah, I've done worked with some amazing people, and I've done it with amazing company and gone into different schools and worked with learners that struggle with their subject. You know, have problems at home, have problems attending, and not the best of students to sit and stay still in class.
Yeah.
And what I and with those type of students, I create my own way of delivering. So at the international school, there was two students who were fantastic people and very clever, but were very naughty because they couldn't sit still. Yeah, they couldn't sit
Like
still.
me.
Yeah, they were couldn't sit still. So what I did was we had to do this science lesson, and what I did was I made workstations. Yeah, for all the class. I mean, it was a small class. I think there was 10 people in this class. And what I did was each of these stations, there was two people on each station, and it was all about keeping fit and doing exercise. And while they were doing it, they had to answer a question, what we were doing as in the class, the lesson, and they couldn't move to the next one until they got the answer correct to that question. And these two boys loved it because I put them on different teams and they wanted to win. So they were working really hard to get the work done so they could move on and then complete the course faster than anybody else. And they thought it was fantastic because A, they were working, but B, they didn't have to sit still and get agitated and frustrated about not being able to run around. So I did that and they loved that. So
Okay, like are
things
you
like that.
harsh on your students?
Um, I would say I'm fair. I would say that it's, but it's not about me. It's all about them. So whatever I can do to get them to where they need to be is what I'll do. I don't care if they're 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late. If they've turned up, that's a massive step for them because they've decided to come and learn. Yeah. I'm not going to
True.
penalize them for being 10 minutes late if they've turned up to learn something. Yeah, however small, however much it is, because when you're
Do you give punishments like most often?
no, not really. I don't give. I
Okay, you're
don't.
nice.
No, I don't give. I mean, depending on what it is, I give them chances. You know, But there's a 3 mark scheme that used, or we raffle tickets to encourage people to answer questions, get a prize at the end of the week. So the end of the week prize, where at the international school was the class, well, for the younger ones, was the class could make pizza for lunch because we had our own kitchen and everything.
Nice.
So,
Very
so if
nice.
they did their maths minute, the whole class, and they all did well and they all beat it, fantastic.
Very nice.
It was all good fun. It was all good fun. I loved it. It was great. And now that I'm teaching adults, I'm part of the national tutor program in the UK, working with students that are struggling in schools that need the extra help. So I do that. It's really good, and
Do you
some of them
guys
were,
provide like home tutor service?
well, we don't. Well, no, you can do. You could go, not home. I mean, I do locally if there's somebody that wants it around the corner or 10 minutes away, but mostly it's all online. So working online is really good, as long as you can get the student to log in
Attention. Okay.
and attention. And if you make it fun and easy and you speak to them like a human being rather than a teacher, then you're halfway there to getting them to learn something. And even if you tell them, if they've never done something and you get them to understand it, that's a massive step for everybody. Yeah. And I find
Nice.
that, well, this is really personal now. I find that schools are more interested in making sure that all their progress scores are more important than the individual, because that's what
Nice.
they get judged on. And I don't think that's right. I think it's all about engaging the student to learn. If the student's willing to learn and are engaged, then you can tell them or speak to them and teach them whatever you like,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, it was really nice to know about the experience of your first day at work.
Yay.
Okay, so the next topic is um like, do you remember any memorable journey you made throughout your life which was so
Yeah.
memorable to you that you will remember it
Memorable.
forever?
Yeah. There's lots, but I did a trip recently.
Okay.
I
Yeah, recent ones are very memorable always.
memorable. Yeah. I traveled. I drove with my other half. We drove down to uh, Cornwall
Okay.
and Devon, and it's about 6 hours from where I live.
You drove
Uh,
alone for 6 hours.
well, no, the two of us, we were in the car together, but I drove mostly. I drove all the way, pretty much, and
Is
we
she a
went.
good driver?
Yeah, she is. She's better than I am.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so we drove and we stopped as we took the more scenic route than the direct route. Um, After we got to sort of Bristol way, so we got to Bristol, we stopped. So that was about 3 hours in. We stopped at Bristol. We had something to eat. We had a rest, and then we drove, sort of going around the coast, down through some great villages, some amazing scenery. Um, we drove. We got lost a couple of times. The sat nav took us to some ridiculous places, um, um, but the ridiculous places were amazing finds of beauty and greenery and houses and everything that were just beautiful. Thatched roofs and amazing gardens, wells in the front garden. It was just fantastic. And then when we got to, so we were thinking, well, that was good, and it was getting late, and we drove to the hotel, and I remember we had to go down this road where the car was the same width as the road.
Okay.
So that means that cars coming the other way, there'd be impasse. We wouldn't be. How do we get? What happens if that happened? So it did happen. So we were coming down. There was another car. And it was like what do we do? So luckily, where we encountered the car, we found a driveway of somebody, and we reversed up this driveway, and the drive was like this high. So we drove the car up this drive and let the other car go by, and then we came back down. And we were very lucky that it happened there. Otherwise, we would have had to try and reverse around this road that was as wide as the car. I'm literally telling you, if you put the window down, you could put your fingers against the wall of the.
Who crossed that path? You or her?
No, we were. I was driving.
Oh,
It was
nice.
me. No, it
Well
was
done.
me. It was the only way. It was only. It was the only way to get to the hotel. And then when we got
Okay.
to the hotel, their car park was massive, which was amazing.
How was the hotel?
The hotel was absolutely beautiful. It was an 18th century manor house, right, on maybe 2 hectares of land. So
Oh
the
my
land was
God, that's huge.
unbelievable. And from our room, we had this amazing room which had a bay window, and you open the curtain. I mean, they were pretty, I would say they were about 5.5 feet, these windows. And you open the curtains, and the view was the garden, the decking, and then and then just at the end of the tree line was the sea. It
Wow.
was absolutely beautiful. And the room was amazing, and the restaurant we were there was amazing. It was great. And then when we moved from there, so we did a little driving trip around, and then drove back up and stayed in different hotels. So the next hotel we went to, the actual hotel was on the. If you imagine going to where a boat would go into the sea, so it goes down a jetty and into the sea. The hotel was right on that jetty. So
Okay.
when you came out the door, all the boats were there, and the sea was literally 10 yards in front of you, in between these
Nice.
rocks. And there was a big balcony of tables where you could sit and just watch the sea wash, and all the boats and the people. Very quiet. And driving there, the roads were even narrower. It was really, really scary to go into this car park of this hotel, but it was so relaxing. The hotel was fantastic. It was beautiful. The
You guys
sun was.
really enjoyed. I can
Oh, it
understand
was
that.
amazing. It was an amazing time, and we did some like ferry tours to different islands. It was very, very enjoyable. We took loads of photos. We did. I've got all the tickets and all the maps and all the receipts, and I've made a montage of it and put it into a frame. It's all uh, well, I'm about to do that. I've got them all laid out. I mean, I haven't got a frame yet. But yeah, but that's what I'm intending to do. And then it's like our trip to Devon and Cornwall, and it shows you the stages, and it's and what we did. We went to some underground caves. We did a cable car ride, loads and loads of different
Do you
amazing.
like cable car? I really love it.
It wasn't really a cable; it was more of a railway up the side of a mountain. So it was like a box
Oh,
that goes up the
nice.
mountain.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
and it's the only way down to this part of the beach in Devon. And we went there, and at the bottom there was like a surfing club, a jet ski club, and then there was these 2 or 3 restaurants, and we sat there right on the sea and had lunch. Amazing.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay,
Yeah.
someone said that hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi Sanjida. How to get a band score 8 in speaking. So the thing is, if you've watched some of my go live videos, then you will know that to get a score 8, which is very good, you have to practice your English reading, speaking a lot. You have to make sure that your vocabulary, you have a very, very large um,
Range.
range of vocabulary, and your grammar, you have to talk in different tenses. So that would help to get you a grade 8. Yeah. So you need to know where are you now. The best thing to do is to know where you are at now, and how you need to go from where you are to an 8. So if you can write and tell me where you think you are, or why don't you click on the link and join us and we can do some speaking practice, and then you'll be able to see, and I'll give you some feedback on what you and on what you've done, or how we have a conversation. That would be amazing.
Thank you so much, Richard, for answering this much elaborately to our guests and viewers.
Hey, no worries. The more people that would love to join, the better. It's fantastic, you know. But
Okay.
good. So yeah, so that was my memorable trip, and then driving home was good. We went to Devon. We went to on the way home. We stayed at this hotel that was a spa hotel. So we managed to have some treatments, which was good because after driving all that long way, 6 hours one way and then 4.5 hours the way back because we stopped at different hotels. It was really good. It was it was just a relaxing time. Yeah. And lots of memories. Very nice.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for sharing your experience with us.
No worries.
Okay. So the next and last topic we can talk about today is a course that impressed you.
A course that impressed me. Wow. A course that
Whether
impressed
that's a course which you conducted or you took the course.
that impressed me. Um, I've done I don't really know one that I've taken. Oh, okay. So I did a course for a company which was based all about how they could join the business. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So it was like an introduction and a recruitment drive at the same time. And when I was at the Arcadia Group, and I was recruiting for store managers for the different brands, because I was in charge of building a whole shopping centre. I think there was all the brands of the Arcadia Group in this out of town shopping centre called Monk's Cross in York. And I'd had enough of doing the one-to-one interviews and panel interviews and everything else, because it doesn't really get the personality and the type of people that the business wanted to get. So what I decided to do was that we would change that and knock it on its head. And what we would do we would create a interaction type of interview. So people would do role plays, they would do group work together. They would have to incorporate certain props like a parrot, a baseball bat into what they had to do. And then instead of having a one-to-one interview, they would do this and there'd be a group of people writing down their behavioral things, what they said, who was good at leading, how they would get everybody to do what they needed to do. And it was a much better way of getting the type of personality and person needed to be a retail manager for the Arcadia Group. And so the first thing they did was they would come in and they would sit in a waiting area where there was TV screens with music videos, Top Shop stuff, Principals, Burton's, Evans, Dorothy Perkins, all these going around on the screen. There was magazines on the tables of all fashion magazines and everything else, and they could sit there and wait. And then in front of that, there was like a big screen with chairs done like a theatre. And then when we were ready, we'd get them all to sit there and then we'd explain what the process was. So we would say that today, this is what we're going to do. You're going to take part in some role plays. You're going to take part in doing some creating some chants, some songs, and working together in teams, doing some fun activities. And is everybody up for that? And then some people put their hands up and said, "This isn't for me," and they left. So straight away, we'd cut maybe 10, 12 people straight away, just like that.
Okay.
So that saved us all that time of going through, hi, what's your name? I'm from your CV, I can see. Got rid of all of that straight away. Yeah.
Very
And then
nice.
the rest of them, they did all this role playing, which was fantastic. And it was really fun as well. And they made really good managers. So then once we found the managers for the brands, then I got them to help pick their team the same way. So
Okay.
it was
What was the duration of the course?
I think it was about 4 hours.
Okay, just a day
Yeah,
workshop.
it was just a day sort of workshop that had a break with some lunch. So started at 10, finished at 2, 3 o'clock. It was great, and then anybody that wanted to ask questions could stay and ask. And then
Very nice.
obviously the people we'd chosen, who were the managers, they would stay, and we would do some more work to then start to pick the teams for the individual brands. So we did this over about a 2 week period because we had 6 or 7 brands to cater for. So each different day after we found the management teams, so the deputy and the store manager, we do all the staff.
Very nice. Very
It was
nice. Interesting course.
a very interesting course. It was one of the best courses I'd done in terms of collaborative with loads of other people, the imagination of doing it. And then when I moved to another company, an educational company, doing training and development, I was head of training. What we did was
Okay.
we did a similar type of thing where we got them to do things like we would do in a classroom. So we set up the interview like we would set up the students in a classroom, and how we would deliver the program. We did it with the candidates, and they had to do some of the stuff the students would do. So it was fantastic, and that worked
Very
really well
nice.
as well.
So
So there you
you
go. That's my
delivered a great performance in that course, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Very nice.
some days were better than others, obviously. You can never get it right all the time. And it only works when there's a lot of people that turn up for the interview. Because still in this day and age, when you offer people the opportunity to come to an interview to get a job, they don't turn up. They don't email you. They don't ring you to tell you that they're not coming. They just don't turn up.
Very nice. Okay. So that's it for today. Okay.
Ah, okay. That was good. I really had a really good fun time speaking to you today. It was great.
ওকে। সো আজকের জন্য এতটুকুই। আমরা আবারও ফিরে আসবো আমাদের রুটিন অনুযায়ী লাইভে আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচার রিচার্ডকে নিয়ে। আপনারা যদি জয়েন করতে চান তাহলে আমার দেয়া লিঙ্কটাতে আপনারা এন্টার করলেই সরাসরি আমাদের লাইভে চলে আসতে পারবেন। এবং আপনাদেরকে আমাদের আগামী লাইভ সম্পর্কে ইভেন্টের মাধ্যমে জানিয়ে দেয়া হবে। সো আমাদের পেজে চোখ রাখবেন এবং আমাদের লাইভে সবসময় জয়েন করবেন এবং আশা করি আপনাদের সাথে আবার দেখা হবে লাইভে। এবং আপনারা আমাদের লাইভগুলো শেয়ার করতে পারেন আপনাদের ফ্রেন্ডসদের সাথে এবং আপনারা চাইলে আপনাদের পার্সোনাল প্রোফাইলেও শেয়ার করতে পারেন। আপনারা যদি কেউ ইন্টারেস্টেড থাকেন নেক্সট লাইভে কথা বলার জন্য আমাদের ব্রিটিশ টিচারের সাথে, তারা আমাদেরকে ইনবক্স করে আপনারা আমাদেরকে জানিয়ে রাখতে পারেন। তাহলে আমরা যখনই লাইভে আসবো তার আগে আমরা আপনাকে একটি অ্যালার্ট দিব, একটা মেসেজ দিব যাতে আপনারা জয়েন করে ফেলতে ভুলে না যান। তাহলে আবার দেখা হবে। ততদিন ভালো থাকবেন, সবাই সুস্থ থাকবেন। টেক কেয়ার রিচার্ড। সি ইউ সুন দ্য
Bye.
নেক্সট উইক। আপনাদের সাথে আবার আগামী সপ্তাহে দেখা হবে। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।